Hi, I'm Jazz and I'm an alcoholic and I'm codependent. I work a 12-step program and I seek health. I am a seeker and a traveler in my journey. I think that parents and moms and dads need a lot of support. I think that there's a lot more that's going on, and emotionally wise, I think that our world is getting to a place of recognizing feelings and emotions. And there was the baby boomers, and then there was Gen X, and even a bit of the millennials, where feelings were not to be seen. You weren't, as a child, you weren't to be seen or heard. There wasn't any room for feelings. Like this, the world is only starting to feel now and actually acknowledge that people are supposed to feel and need to feel, and it's a part of healing. And we see how much that suppressing those and not letting those out causes so much internal destruction, which eventually comes out as external destruction down the road, which might be substance abuse or any kind of self-abuse, right? Like we're starting to notice now that when we don't let our feelings out in a safe, good way with someone or somehow, they come out in a destructive way, because they have to go somewhere, and they happen. They don't not happen because I ignore them. They're still happening. They're just that I'm hiding them. So I really feel like we're evolving as humans with, we're starting to talk about this stuff. Gentle parenting is coming out. And what I see so much just in my own household and comparing to my own bringing up, I grew up in a time where physically hurting children with discipline, or physically getting physical with your children, started to be the thing that you weren't supposed to do anymore. And there was all this, oh, gee, they're calling it abuse now. And, now there's more talk about, well, how are we emotionally abusing our children or neglecting our children? And that's becoming, even with intimate partner violence, like emotional abuse and psychological abuse is also something that is coming. It is happening, but it's not getting acknowledged as much because it's not physical. So as we grow as we evolve, these topics are coming out more as being valid. They're being validated. They're being acknowledged that this stuff is happening. And so, the most vulnerable people that it's happening to is children, and then mothers. And I think that it is so important for mothers to get the things that they need, and same with the dad. But I think in most cases, there's a lot of mothers that need a lot of support, because it's like the last defense. It's like you're the last person to help protect your kids. And then they're on their own if they don't have that. So I really have just a very deep respect for those inner parts that need to be protected, with that children, those inner parts and children need to be protected, because those children turn into adults, which is our future. So I look at my parents and I understand that because of where they've come from and how they were raised, feelings was not something that was recognized, acknowledged. There was no place to have those. And so I grew up in a place where it was very confusing, because they were pretty extreme, like very up and down. And sometimes my parents were there emotionally for some stuff, but then they weren't. Like oftentimes it didn't feel like they were there, but they couldn't be there because they didn't have the tools. They didn't know, like that kind of awareness back then. There was no talk about that. There was no way that my parents could have given me that emotional support that I needed. It's only being something that's really talked about now. And, with first everybody's is noticing that, we have an alcohol problem. We have people are drinking, but now people are really starting to understand, like, but why are people drinking? Why are people doing drugs? Why is this happening? Where is this coming from? That's just, the end of the line of the problem. Like, if I'm going to relapse, the drinking part is the last thing that I do before my relapse. My relapse starts way before I actually have a drink. So this stuff is like thoughts and feelings and behaviors are going out of whack before all the drinking starts to take place. And this all comes from unresolved issues, unresolved like traumas and stuff like that, like childhood stuff. Like, so things are happening to kids, and then the kids are growing up and we're having substance problems. Like, we're starting to put the pieces together, and we're seeing that this problem runs deeper than just alcohol and drugs. This problem, it starts at a young age, and then it continues on forward, because we're laying the foundation for our children, and then that's the foundation that they have. And it's going to stay like that until it gets corrected. The kids don't correct it, then maybe until they're older, but it's all happening in childhood. And so, and speaking from my experience, how crucial it was, how devastating as a child it was to be not being able to have anyone to reach out to. I didn't have that. I didn't have that opportunity, because my parents were dealing with their stuff. They were dealing with their own stuff, their marriage, the kids, like, they're busy. We're not, we're just living the life pretty basically. And, things happened. And one of my caregivers, it wasn't, we were dealing with some mental illness stuff. And I don't want to downplay it. It played a huge part in my childhood, but out of respect for my parents, I don't want to go too far down that road. But the thing that I take away from this is just, I really try to be there for my kids. Like, when those emotional needs show up, when they need to talk, when they need to cry, and they need to cry longer. Like, I really try to show up in those times of emotional pain, because no one's getting physically hurt no one's getting physically hurt, and it's not happening everywhere anymore. But people are starting to notice why people are acting a certain way. Why are people behaving a certain way? People are starting to get curious about, like, where's all this stuff coming from? And as I recover, it's like I'm learning, like, why do I do the things that I do? Why am I choosing this job or this partner, or why am I stuck in this bad toxic situation, and why am I not leaving that situation? Because I'm used to that kind of situation. Like, I can handle this. I'm good at taking, I'm good at taking the heat and handling awful things said to me. I can handle more awful things said to me than more good things said to me. Like, that's kind of messed up. Like, why the heck does that happen? So some of the things that I've just endured and then have led me down to this long path of where I am today, a lot of it, I look back into my own stuff, and it comes from somewhere, and it comes from back then. And it snowballed and added more things till eventually I blew up and ended up in rehab. But I'm very grateful that I am sober and clean today, and I have a chance at a better life. But the thing is that I don't think that one of my parents ever had a chance to have that opportunity to be able to be the parent that they really wanted to. I think they really wanted to be the best and greatest parent that they could. And I think in that sense, they thought they were doing that. And, before this awareness of all of these these deep-rooted issues have ever come up. Now I think they wish that they could have not done certain things, but I just think it was so out of their hands. Like, how could they? There just isn't that much knowledge out there back then on how to be with certain stuff and how to react with certain things, and how to safely take care of the family when the family is going through a family trauma together. Where's the rule book on that? Like, there is only so much humanness. Like, the humanness happened, and we all had a human traumatic experience, and that is the best that most families can do sometimes. And it's just so crucial what happens in childhood, and that emotional part, once starting to get listened to, can really lead to so much better things in life. But growing up without that kind of safety, or someone to talk to, or someone to ask questions to, someone to be that loving parent to, like, I didn't really have that. I didn't really have anyone to talk to, and no one trustworthy enough to talk to. Like, things were, physically stable, but things were emotionally unstable in the home. Like, it was like in a way being raised by an addict, because the whole family revolved around the sickest person, and it was, sometimes they would just disappear for 3 days, like, just in their room, and then there'd be no explanation, and things were confusing because it was like I needed that person, and then they just were gone, and then 1 second they're mad at you and they're raging, and then the next second it's like so much love and affection and overpowering of hugs and apologies, but very confusing, because it's like, well, you were just seems like you hate me, but now you love me, and now you hate me, and now you love me, and then why aren't they helping or protecting me or saying anything, and how come I can't get any answers here, and what do I do? And then I dealt with a lot of humiliation, like with my one parent would expose so many of my secrets out there, and tell people stuff I told them, and then I was so humiliated as a child and embarrassed, and then I just remember as a child just feeling like my guts were going to turn inside out, and feeling like, oh, like I'm going to die. Like, sometimes I just felt like that. Like, I could barely stand to be handling what was happening, because I was feeling so insecure and scared. And so I remember that feeling a lot, and just, I try, the only way to heal any of that, or anything that I can do now, is that I get to heal from my stuff, and that I get to try the best that I can to not pass on certain things to my kids. And that's just how it goes, generation after generation. It's like, learn what this generation is supposed to learn, and take what I can from it, and then get through it, and then hopefully it's not as bad for the next generation. Like, it's, the whole world is evolving at the same time, and some stuff, like the drinking, is so just one part of addiction. It's the thing that everybody sees, but the addiction is so much deeper, and it goes so, it gets in there, and then it's so hard to get it out, and it's so hard to fix it. It's sometimes it's unrecoverable. Like, sometimes there's no there's no undoing in reverse. Like some people don't come back. And I think my message is like, there might be more to prevent here if I'm more cautious about how I treat my child, like how my actions are laying out for my child. What's my responsibility? What's the thing that I can do to help today to be better? How could I move on and move forward and be the best parent I can be? Like I can start any time to start changing, and I can start with the smallest thing I want. And I know today that I can't change my past, and I wouldn't my higher power is forging with me my life. I have been carved out this way for a reason. I was given these parents for a reason. I was given the situations in my life for certain reasons. Nothing in God's world happens by mistake. None of this happened by mistake. Everything is happening just the way it's happening. And I love my parents, and I love our relationship that we have today. And it wasn't always what it is today. Like, there's been so much growth and change and communicating and healing. And they're actively in my kids' life. Like every second day we're in their presence. And it isn't the same. They aren't the same people that raised me. Those were different people. Those were hurting people and going through some really hard stuff. Like there was just like one hard thing after another hard thing. And then I just don't think there was enough left for us kids to as long as we were getting the basics, it was at that point, that was all you had to do as a parent back then, was just like, feed your kids, get them to church, get them to school, come home every night, and there you go. Like, so my parents, they checked that box. But before so much of this mental health awareness, before all of this, that addiction isn't just drinking, addiction's deeper than that. Before, like, there's just only more and more awareness coming out from all this stuff. And thank God, because it does mean that there's a chance to stop it. Like, we are starting to learn the ways to stop this and save and help our future. And protect our children is protecting our future. So I can only start to do better as a parent and watch myself and give the best that I can to my kids. And they have like the best grandparents in the world. And that is just such a great gift that can happen. And I'm really glad that our relationship came back to something. It was not something before, and it is something today. But the thing is that not having someone to talk to or go to, or that safety, that trust, that, some of that stuff played a huge part just in had come through me as an adult. And it really it was like a base. It was a kind of a bad base foundation for some of the choices that I made. I got myself in a lot of trouble, and I might have been able to, and the other thing is I always grieved not being able to have that close relationship at the time with my parents. Like I was always so jealous of, some of my other siblings. And then I was just jealous of even other parents having a really close relationship with their kids and wanting that, and just wanting that extra time and those extra cuddles, and wanting that someone to talk to and tell me how, because I didn't want to figure everything out on my own. And I had to figure out a lot on my own. And I think that if I would have had that extra guidance and trust, in someone trusting and believing in me and helping motivate me, it might have made a difference. I really believe it would have made a difference for me. And I think that I really pined for that. And then I think I just eventually over time got too hurt and then just pressed the F it button and was like, I'm F it. And then I kind of took a different path at the age of, around 21 there. And I just started to kind of rebel. And I rebelled for a long time. And I only hurt myself in the process. Like it was all just self-damage. And so I believe that I am responsible today. I'm responsible today for how I show up, and that my past really did affect me. It does affect me, and I have more vivid memories of my childhood than really any other time. Like that's more the times when I really remember the most, and everything's just going in. Like there's no filter at that age. Like it only just goes in. Like every harsh comment or every tone, every inconsiderate thing, every blast of anger, like every time someone's late, or as a child, or just says something rough, like that all just went in and it just kept going in and going in. And that's overwhelming. And then how do you deal with that? How do you survive and move on and not feel lonely and, just feeling alone everywhere. So I believe that my children matter. And I really forgive my parents for sure. Like as a parent, I screw up. I've had some really low moments. Like when I was deep in that active addiction, like I don't remember I've had 2 kids in active addiction, and then I had 2 kids in recovery. My 2 kids in recovery, I remember so much. And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't even remember this age of my son back then. Like when I was in active addiction and in a really unhealthy relationship, I don't remember anything barely before rehab. Like all those cute little moments that I'm having with my kids from recovery, I'm like, I missed all this. Like I missed it all. I wasn't present. I wasn't there. I was angry. I was explosive. I was every bad thing I was, and it was all coming out. And I left my kids in their cribs like all mornings. Like I should have had my kids taken away. And it wasn't for the saving grace of my parents that they weren't taken away at that time. But I'm just like all those other moms in a really struggling time. And in that moment, like there's so many out there, and my rock bottom was just so like failing as a mom, as a person, as being someone married. Like I was in such a failure. I was hurting and down, and I wasn't there for my kids. And I got the chance to get better. I got the chance to fix my life and never be like that again. And my relationship with my parents is all the things that I wish it was when I was a kid now. It's all the fruits are coming now. The trust is there. The reliability is there. The emotional connection is there. I don't know what happened. There was some changes that started, and then they were so consistent with that change that it restored that trust. And now it's now something that I always wanted and craved. And so it's back. And I don't think that always happens for everybody. That was a blessing in my life. And I know it doesn't happen for everyone, but I'm very grateful that it happened. And all of this experience in my life just makes me who I am today, makes me such a good mom to my kids. And I'm not always the best mom, but it's given me so much strength and awareness just on how I show up, how I be, what I show them. And I just really believe that, that they are our future, and they need protection, and they're vulnerable to everything that I expose them to. So I really hold that sacred to my heart. Just their hearts are in my hands. I have their hearts in my hands and their well-being, and I need to do the best that I can. And so I do that, but I do that as a human, having a human experience, making mistakes, and it's not always easy, and it's not always smooth. Like, so that's it. That's just my part on children's sacred hearts. So thanks.